She targets a random player.
That's why we have to stay grouped up in our quadrant, because it targets one person that's in the group. So if you're outside of the group towards where we're moving, the breath is going to face that way.
That's also why if you end up with rot right before a breath happens, you need to actually make sure you keep going left instead of trying to make it back across to the right. If you try to come back across, you're just going to get hit with the crossfire. Which is fine if you have something that can deflect all the attacks from it. But if you don't, then you're just running right into a breath.
Well, when I had the rot, right after I released it, I was behind you. Of course, I was behind you guys, and then they did the breath. Instead of trying to go through it, I just stayed back the other way and then cut across.
Yeah, that's basically what you have to do if you get caught on the other side of breath while dropping off a rot.
Can anybody tell me why it's not considering this a guild raid? There's only 2 people in the group that aren't guild.
3.
I dropped, just woke up.
I thought Ian was more important.
Yep, Candace as well. Zone back in. Yeah, zone out and zone back in, Candace. Steel, have you done the dragons yet?
No, I have not.
Okay, head over there. Mulgore, I believe it is, right?
No, Mogo is the spider bird.
Everyone retreat is the one we want. It's the one we want.
Okay. Sorry.
Super small.
Yep, I'm gonna go double check it real quick.
This
No problem,
was
sir.
the Emerald
Thanks for helping out.
Dreamway.
And
During my
especially on
long
that
slumber, it was here I communed with the green dragon.
I'm pretty sure that's what scared Sophie.
Now,
Oh,
the
this fight is
sacred
fun.
place has been made into
Alright,
a
I'm gonna,
a nightmare to spread
you
its
guys start clearing
corruption.
trash. I'm gonna tab out
This
super
we
quick.
cannot allow.
Double check on the boss, read up real quick.
This fresh pull is really hard. I've read the guide on it. It's a little, really cool down. You guys really need it. Focus the keepers, everything. Is the one.
Hey, we gotta go. And everything else dies first.
Target something first.
The boss is more of a tank check, is more of a tank taunt check than anything else.
Yana, you've done it?
Yeah, we got it down to 4% twice before I had to leave. So yes, I do know the fight.
Alright. So which dragon is up this week?
The Looks like Terrair.
Tiro.
It'll be Isandra, Terrair, and Emerus. I'm fairly certain.
Alright, so they share health at 70%. The non-Yosandre dragon on the ground will take off, and the dragon flying overhead will land. When the dragons reach 40%, the two non-Yosandre dragons will switch positions again. So 70 and 40, they swap. When a dragon's in the air, it is effectively inactive, cannot be targeted, and uses no abilities. You only have to deal with the two active dragons on the ground and master their mechanics. If you're within 45 yards of an active dragon, you receive a debuff called Mark of whatever the dragon's name is. The Taerar. Is that the dragon that's up?
Yeah.
So, the Mark of Terrar periodically marks all players within 45 yards, inflicting 6,000 shadow damage every 1 second for 35 seconds. Upon reaching 10 stacks, the target is afflicted with Slumbering Nightmare and stunned for 30 seconds.
And you gotta remember that when the shades are up, that damage, it turns like, when he's up, it's 100%. When one shade is up, it's 200%. When two shades are up, it's 300% damage.
So we gotta split the raid into two groups, tank the two dragons on opposite sides of the encounter area. Each group will stay on their side for the entire fight. The tank in each group should pick up the dragon nearest to them. Bullets load is more than 45 yards from the other dragon. When a group has 6 to 8 stacks of its dragon's mark debuff, the tank should swap dragons. So meet in the middle, swap them, groups switch over. Groups stay put, tanks meet in the middle and swap. Well, this is, again, what you guys have been saying, but Steel Apps, you two need to communicate on this one. Then drag the new dragon back to their assigned position. If you receive the wrong dragon's debuff, move a few yards further towards the edge of the room. Tank swaps need to happen between 6 and 8 stacks. One accidental stack could cause a Slumbering Nightmare. A tank swap is necessary each time the airborne dragon lands. Every 33 seconds, they're going to do a Corrupted Breath. They target a cone area in front of them. The cone is 45 yards long, so you cannot outrange it. That's why tanks need to keep the dragon faced away from everybody else. And do not swap dragons unless both of them have recently cast Breath. We'll use Hero off pull about 10 seconds in, as usual. Every 16 seconds, Yasandre will use Nightmare Blast. It fires a projectile at a random player's location. Move out of it. Nightmare Bloom will form at this location. Nightmare Bloom summons a Dread Horror. It summons Dread Horror adds every 3 seconds until they expire after 20 seconds. These Dread Horrors are trivial, and they only attack players with melee attacks. Okay, so when she drops the bloom, what you want to do is we need people to stand in them. The person who stands in it will take moderate to heavy periodic damage from the dot. If you're soaking it, you need to use defensive cooldowns. Healers need to keep whoever's in the blooms topped up. So if you're stepping in a bloom, call it out. Healers will cover you. The last thing is when Yasandra reaches 100 energy, approximately every 34 seconds, she casts Call Defile Spirits. It summons a Druid Spirit near each of 2 randomly chosen players. When they're summoned, they root all players within 10 yards.
Before you go on too much more, Febreze, I'm assuming you're tapped out, but Nam and Heavy had to dip.
They bailed?
Yeah, they said something had to come up, or something came up, so they had to dip.
We'll have 8, which I think is still doable. And it'll split us It will split us evenly with the healers anyway.
What's that?
If we have 8 people, we can split evenly with the healers and the DPS.
Well, that gives us 9 people.
Oh, I cannot count.
That's fine. We'll have 1 extra. So I'm gonna put here. Let me fix the groups here. And I want the DPS even in both groups, correct? Deanna?
Yes. They share health bars, so
Doesn't really matter in that case.
it doesn't matter so much, but if all the DPS is in one group, if all the heavy DPS is in one group and they all die, yeah. It's not good. But yeah, another quick thing as well is if everyone looks at the map, you'll see that some of the ground around the place is darker. The actual topography of the arena can help with positioning. And so when I did it before, not sure if I can actually ping far enough. I can. We had 1 dragon tanked there, and 1 dragon tanked about there. And that gave us enough room.
Alright, Yana, why don't you talk us through it? I need to see this one. I'm reading it, but there's a ton of abilities and additional stuff. I need to see it.
Yeah. Basically, dragons are dragons. Keep them away. Don't stand behind them. Don't stand in front of them. Just stay on their flanks. As Fabrice said, just stay more than 45 yards away from them. Otherwise, you'll get stacks of both. That is not good. They stack, but they all share the same timer, so when 1 stack falls off, they all fall off, or rather, the same stacks fall off. Flowers, just 1 person needs to stand on them, just keep them healed, otherwise they spawn adds really, really fast. So the adds might be weak, might not hit for very much, but there will be a lot of them if the flowers are left up for too long. Shades of Terra, basically just an ad that uses most of the same abilities as the actual dragon himself. So just burn it down as soon as possible. Other than that, it's a fairly simple fight. Tanks, you might need to move forward a few paces towards each other to catch your dragons. That's okay. Just so long as the DPS stays where they are, they shouldn't get more than 1, maybe 2 stacks of the other dragon as they pass.
Yeah, Absoluta is saying we were going to start moving at 5 stacks.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's
So-
a good place to move.
So the DPS will stay put, so then at 5 stacks, I will walk towards the other group and then pull that other dragon towards
Taunt
my
it.
group.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're not gonna move. So we're not gonna move the group. We're gonna move the dragons.
Okay, sounds good to me. Let's kill this little dragon.